Hi everyone, I'm Kara Warner with People. So delighted to be here with the cast and writer-director of Little Women. We're gonna chat all about it. I wonder if you can talk about the significance of where we are to start.
Well, we're in Louisa May Alcott's family's living room. This is Orchard House, and this is where she wrote Little Women.
How does it feel kind of being, I have heard that the set mimics this pretty well, or mimicked.
Yes. With Jess Goncher, who was our production designer, he recreated this house almost to scale. And so it's very magical to be here. And we all came here as a cast before we started shooting. You weren't here yet, but we did a tour of the house and looked at everything. And it has so much evidence of the people they were. And it's very inspiring to be back. I can't believe we're back.
I know, it's quite surreal. Our living room was bigger though.
Our living room is bigger because
we had so much
wanted more.
happening in it.
We wanted more camera angles too.
That makes sense.
So,
What do you guys remember most about kind of all coming together at the start of production?
The weather was really nice when we started, and by the end it was horrible. It was like we went through 4 different seasons. I mean, we only shot for 3 months.
yeah,
But
we
it
started in end of September. We
in December.
middle of
Before
December.
Christmas.
Yeah,
But it felt like so much longer. And
because every day was
every day was
20 hours
jam-packed.
long.
And it was nice. Like, we all lived in the same place and spent so much time together. And
They lived in a retirement community.
we lived with
It was
a...
not a retirement community.
It basically was.
It looked like a retirement community.
It was amusing.
They were either very, very young, the people that lived there, as in like children, or very, very old.
Oh, no. How did you come to find it? All three.
I don't know. We went through a lot of different options, and that's kind of where we ended
all
up.
lived nearby in different towns and different villages. So Timmy, didn't you have like a whole
was
town
here.
to
You
yourself?
had a whole
You
house.
had that yellow house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you
That
visited
was my
first.
reject,
Yeah, you rejected it. Why?
because I wanted to hang out with the old people.
Oh yeah. So she's gonna well. Let's not get into it here.
Where was that going?
Just the old
I lived in an old pencil factory.
Oh.
I don't know that
And
anyone
you had
knew
a
that.
squirrel
You got out of your first
infestation.
house.
My
left your
first
first house.
house had rodents in the
'Cause you
wall.
offered to.
And then I offered it to Timmy.
And I was like, what's all
He
this
just got
noise in these
rejects.
walls? No, I'm kidding.
No, and then I went into a pencil factory after that. Yeah, Thoreau lived in as well.
Fitting.
Who did?
Thoreau.
Wow.
No.
Yes,
Really? I didn't know that.
that's why this movie's so good.
It seems that you can feel the camaraderie. You all enjoy each other naturally, which is fantastic. What were some of your favorite scenes to be in? What were some of your favorite scenes to just watch being filmed that you weren't a part of, and what were some of your favorites to be in?
I will say I had a nice, lovely little role in this, but I found myself watching the interaction with all these different talents and the director, and I can only say I wish I appeared as assured as these actors did come into this project.
You were
They came very prepared. They came very prepared, and it was just really impressive.
That's lovely to hear.
Aw.
Well, I was gonna say your scene with Eliza. That's one of the several times I cry.
I
while
know.
watching it.
I know.
Thank you.
I
was hoping you'd say that.
I cried when we were filming it. I mean, my favorite part of being a director is like I get to watch performances unfold in front of me, and it's like I have to pick. Okay, it's this take, it's that take. But the reality of being a director is you get to sit there and you get to watch their brains work. It's like you get a private play done every day. That sounds gross, but I mean, it's like
Dance for me.
my private dance. No, but it's like I can think of moments with every single one, like all these different interactions that I feel so. I don't know. It's my favorite thing is watching actors do their thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone knows the characters are beloved. It seems like you guys also enjoy the characters. Was there a part of any of playing these people that kind of either stuck with you or that brought something out in you that you didn't expect?
I think for me, what?
No, you say.
Oh, I did. you. She's so demanding. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed in playing Jo, and one of the things that we definitely wanted to bring out in her, is that she's quite like, she's wonderful and she's creative and she loves her family and all the rest of it. But I also really liked those other elements to her that weren't quite as like palatable. So like her frustration and her stubbornness and things like that. And they're things that I like definitely have. And I think it was really great for me, like especially in the scene where Jo, especially in the scene where Jo gives Friedrich her work and expects him to say, you're amazing and it's brilliant and it's perfect, because no one's ever told her otherwise. And he doesn't do that out of respect. And I think that that's been quite an interesting journey for me as well, because I think so often, especially as actors, you can have so many people around you just going, you know, yeah, sure, or you're great, or like whatever. And to actually have somebody test you or push you and not necessarily like the answer, but like work through it is quite important. So that was quite a good thing for me to do. That's quite deep.
But no, that's nice.
But it was true though. I loved it. It's like therapy. I felt changed. Hair tug.
Oh, same.
I know. Yeah. I felt like you had an answer.
Well, a couple of things I'd love to say. First of all, that Greta is such an incredible muse in bringing us to ourselves, because the larger theme that feels so inherent in the film has to do with a journey towards self as an artist, as a woman, as family, in love stories, you know. And so I felt like she was our matriarch at driving us toward our truest self. And so I got to just adopt that as Marmee to, you know, get to embody a person who finds mothering in honoring mess, in honoring complication, rage, beauty, ferocity, compassion, you know, all these amazing and different traits in a family, and allowing them to just live and breathe so that someone can find their way, as opposed to stifling a person and call it parenting. And so I felt like Greta was doing that for all of us, and then I got to try to portray that in her movie. I was very lucky.
One of my favorite moments that you did in the sort of knowing what people needed thing is because Timothy's character is, you know, all alone in this big house and he's the focus. The generosity of Marmee to let him not be ignored, but to fold into the mess. Like, not to be like, oh my God, I'm just because it's so stressful to have all the attention on you, but just that she was like, come into the mess, but not the focus is on you. Like, but that sort of, there were all so many little moments of just, it's all from the book and it's all from Louisa, but there's so much humaneness and humanity to these characters and the way they allow each other to be their best selves. It's something that watching these actors bring these moments to life, and just these little moments of care touch me as much as the big moments of their epic emotions, is the little moments of how they take care of each other.
Yeah. I think that's one of the greatest things, is that it feels so real, that, you know, you can see yourself in so many of all of you, which is just such a joy to watch. We talk about embracing the mess. Oh yeah.
I feel like that happens all the time.
Okay. That's cool.
I was very worried through the whole answer.
I wasn't. It felt completely professional.
It looked natural.
No, I liked
Looked natural.
it, but we were
I wonder if there are any like happy accidents from the play. I know the script was tight, and obviously you were following it to a T, but were there any sort of happy accidents that came from either the group sequences or any of that, any of the more intense?
Oh my God, there's so many happy accidents. There's so many things that I can think like every actor brought to the movie that would have been forever not that way. Like, I think of Florence wearing the fairy wings when she's burning the book. She came to set and was like, I'm gonna be wearing these while I do this. And then lines that Marmee says, that some natures that are too lofty to curb, too noble to bend. That was something she found in her research. Lori, you standing on your chair, looking out the window, like not doing your Latin. That was you. You wanted to
I
do that.
in real. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, a million things like the jacket that Saoirse wears as Joe, which is a military jacket. That was an idea that Saoirse and Jacqueline had come up with, and this idea of Joe riding as sort of like a military campaign and taking over space. And I mean, so many. Chris's curly hair, the connection with Lori.
I didn't know.
I know, you guys.
Florence is the only one that's
Yes,
like,
I brought that.
I was like, what?
I mean, it's so many little things like that. I mean, I feel like everything you were doing in your own little world as Beth, like all of your interactions with your dolls and all your stuff. No, but it was just, I mean, really, truly, I feel like I had this script that was specific, but then each one of them breathed such beautiful life into it. And I think that's, I mean, making movies is just the process of gathering the right people to you and then allowing them to bring everything they've got to it. And then you take all the credit.
I deserve a little bit. I deserve a little bit. I want to ask about Pam, and if there were any nicknames given to other accessories.
Yes, I remember Pam.
Yeah, everyone's asking us.
Are you serious?
Well, it's a fun little
Do
detail.
you
my
remember
God.
when Joe sells her hair and I had that ridiculous haircut?
No, it's a wonderful haircut. It's a wonderful haircut.
brilliant
You know what
haircut.
it's based on? It's based on Amelia Earhart because she had one of the best haircuts of all time. Go back, look at Joe's whole look is based on Amelia Earhart. I'm going to put that out right now.
We're talking about Pam. Two different people.
So Pam was sort of like my Sasha Fierce. She was, when I put Pam on in the morning, Pam was sort of like the woman who goes onto TripAdvisor to leave a bad review.
She was walking around with this wig, and every time she'd sit down, she'd cross her legs and start knitting. And I said, "You look like you're Pam." And she goes, "What?" And I was like, "You look like this
A woman
is
called
Pam."
And I was knitting a lot, and
Yeah.
I just seemed like the type of person that would have a lot of opinions about everything.
I have a
Australian, wasn't
She was Australian.
and she had problems with everything. She hated a lot.
I
of
don't
things.
like this.
I don't like
I don't like
And
this
I'm
at all.
going to knit.
I'm very frustrated right
Very
now.
frustrated right now.
Did any
Eliza
other?
doesn't like my Australian accent.
This happens all the time. I have so much B-roll of you guys talking in Australian accents, and then I'd say, okay, we're rolling, and then they'd all start crying or whatever.
There's a scene where Eliza is like dying. Her character is very, very sick, and we're in the bed, and I'm like, please don't go, and we're whispering in this really intense scene. And right before each take, we would just we would quote Chris Lilly, who's this like brilliant Australian comedian who does like Summer Heights High and stuff. And
No, they were all like.
and action. Don't go back.
They were like this all the time. It's like actually being with sisters who you can't control. But that's why it's so great.
It works. That's why it works. Makes sense to me.
At one point, I told I was like, get me a megaphone. I want.
Yeah, she did actually need a
I was
megaphone.
like, I need to command respect.
Did you get it?
Nope.
I mean, it shows. It shows in the performances. Well, speaking about kind of Miss Greta's talents, I wondered if since you guys have worked with a few more directors, you guys are catching up. But can you speak to kind of the difference or just what's special about working with someone like Greta and her abilities?
Do you want to leave, Greta?
I know. This was tough.
Nobody's saying anything.
It's like working with any very prepared actor or director. I mean, she gave us very much free rein until there was a moment where she wanted a little adjustment here or there. It's the greatest. It's the greatest situation to be in as an actor, working with directors who, this is the first time I've been to the Alcott house. I just realized, oh my God, we copied the floor plan of this. I just kind of thought that was a bit of brilliance there, but Greta has, she gave me, like I said, she gave me free rein. When I needed an adjustment, she was there. And it's as good as it gets.
Lovely.
and her rhythm and her musicality as a writer, not just a filmmaker, so informed the dance and the choreography of these larger scenes when we were all together. That was extraordinary, unparalleled. The way the language was used to modernize this narrative was particularly incredible to me.
This is what my wife and I have talked about, how it was of the period, but it's very contemporary as well. And also as you know, this technical word, as an ensemble of actors. They really sold it as sisters, you know, and when I see this film. And the back and forth between the characters is not so precious, you know. It's like it's rough and visceral and so real, you know.
Yeah.
And I think even with the joking of their various characters and accents that they were doing, Greta gave room to a family always inhabiting the space of being on set. I mean, if you were here with us 10 minutes before you were working, I was laying on a couch. They were all hanging on one part of me like your kids do.
Yeah.
We were like one body and always loud, always joking, always, you know, wild. And so it wasn't just that it was a family. It held that the energy of the Alcotts as we learned about their revolutionary spirit, and that's also, I think, makes it feel so modern, and it was extraordinary that she gave that kind of room, because you feel it so much in the movie. And you guys at play is like, oh,
There's
the
also
dream.
like, what I love about this is that there's a sense of humor in the film. Like, it's funny, and you know, the girls are always sort of just bouncing off each other. And that was one of the things that I said to you in the months sort of leading up to the film, is that I was trying to figure out like who Jo was, what it was exactly that sort of motivated her to be the writer that she was, or to have the fulfillment that she did. And it was her sisters. And I think I remember saying to Greta, like, she just gets such a kick out of everyone in her life. Like, she's so into them. She like buzzes off of them, you know. And I think because we were all, I mean, you see the way we are with each other, and I think the fact that we all have such a similar sense of humor as people and as actors, that made a massive difference as well to what you see in the film, you know.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing to do with your downtime together? If there was a favorite.
There's a lot of wrestling, wasn't there?
So much wrestling.
I'm sorry, Chris.
So much wrestling.
A lot of singing.
Well, you taught me how to knit.
Yeah.
Yes, I was the one that brought knitting to the set. Finding that. We would eat a lot of the set food.
She stole a lot of the food.
I did. I would hide a lot of the food.
Thievery.
Ice cream.
I would hide it in rooms that we weren't filming in, and then in between.
She honestly would.
I would. So, like that table there, one day we were doing the Christmas meal and there was a big bowl of donuts. So I picked up the big bowl of donuts and I went into the kitchen and I hid it behind the stove and no one knew where it was.
But like all of them.
Yeah.
She just took a prop.
I mean, come on.
What else did we do?
It was fun.
We went to New York for a bit.
Singing. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah, I
didn't
would
go
have
to
been in
that.
New York.
Eliza and I ran away for a romantic weekend. It was beautiful.
They went to SNL.
Yeah, we went to SNL. We walked around New York holding hands.
Yeah.
It was great. We were a couple.
It was very
Hunting
full.
weekend.
Everything was very full of life, and it felt like in the best way, with the highest class actors in the world. It felt like my memories of community theater, and I mean that as the highest compliment. I truly mean it as the highest compliment, because like that feeling of like everyone's together. It's everyone's like laughing and playing and making fun of each other and trying to get away with things and fighting and then making up, and the whole thing was like felt like that. And because so many of the scenes involved like 8 people talking at once, having that dynamic, and it was so satisfying to me, and my weird musical thing of like when everyone was hitting everything at the right time, and when you were there and you're like, who's this man, and everybody's coming in and all this is talking, it's like whatever my OCD synesthesia is, I was like, it's working. And it was like,
It's all coming
but then
together
and then when you call cut, and then it was like all this energy would like explode into parts and and then it would focus. And I think that was what was so exciting. It was like taking all this talent and energy and then focus it, and then it would flit apart again. And it was something that I knew with the DP and I, Yorick, who did a beautiful job. I wanted that feeling of restlessness, especially with the youth of girlhood and of childhood and all of them together. And I wanted it to feel like nothing was nailed to the ground, that these were just beams of light.
Yeah. Well, on nothing being nailed to the ground, did you, aside from like donuts and props, did you keep anything? Did you get to keep anything from your experience? Did you want to keep anything?
At the end, I think it was our very last shot actually, was the last shot in the movie. Yeah. When Jo watches her book being put together, and we played like just so much David Bowie through the speakers. I was like, can you just play this? Well, it was Moon Age Daydream.
Moon Age Daydream. It was a very surreal moment for me. This is like, keep your electric eye on me. But it starts like, I'm an alligator. I'm a mama papa coming for you. But I remember, this is so nerdy, you guys. When I was like 18, I had a Discman, a yellow Discman.
Yeah.
And I used to play that song over and over. And I wrote, keep your electric eye on me, babe, on everything. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but the aliens will be watching. And then it was so funny because I gave Saoirse different options of songs, and one was Patti Smith Gloria. There were like a few different songs, and that one was one you picked, and I was like, oh my God, that was me fantasizing about something at 18, eating like veggie dogs.
That's like full circle.
Yeah, it was full circle. It was very surreal.
Anyway,
So you kept the
So I kept the book.
Okay.
They actually did make, I kept a book too.
Yeah, they bound a Little Women copy, but they put Jo March on the front.
Yeah,
and I got to
and they
keep
bound it in the
It
way
was
they
gorgeous.
made the copies of the book and did the typeset how they did in 1868. So they made reproductions of the 1868 book that said J.L. March.
That's so nice.
Speaking of which, our prop master
Oh
Yes.
my God.
is so incredible. Like every prop, for me, it was like amazing that you're right there, and so
it was
lucky.
perfect. Yeah, he's lives in Massachusetts, and every object in the movie was vetted and looked at and made sure, and it was incredible. And then I just watched them all eat it.
The books. Yes.
They were just eating like the
Books, anything else that anyone want to keep anything? Or no?
I would have loved to have kept something.
That's okay.
Weren't given anything, Rita?
No.
We didn't. They tend to keep all the costumes and the props so that they can do reshoots
Right.
later, but we never did reshoots. Everything that we
we
got.
did
Some stuff.
What?
Can we have some stuff?
Yeah.
you want your
You can go talk to Sony.
I should totes have my foot.
You should totes have
Yeah.
your foot.
And the
Oh, we didn't do the mold though.
No, but you could
just
have
have the
you could
bucket
have some
With the
piece of
with the
art.
jelly
You
in
could have
it.
your
You could have
weird
your
ass
doll.
doll.
Yeah.
My best friend.
I have a couple good reader questions. One person wants to know what the next film in the Greta Saoirse Timothée universe will be?
Well, you've added these guys as well.
Yeah,
by the way.
What are we doing together
No,
next?
no. I feel like the next thing that we do. I'm always expect that I'll give you guys something, and I'll just hear back from your agents like. It's a pass.
Oh no.
It's a pass. They
Yes.
didn't see themselves in it. They'd love to work with you again. They would love to.
Let's
but
keep
it's
talking.
a pass. It's a pass this time.
It's a polite pass.
No, I mean, I would be so honored to work with. I mean, I've always wanted, as a director, as a writer, the thing I've always wanted to do is like, I hope, knock wood, I get to make lots of movies. And when I look back at my career from my Porsche,
With your
which
Walkman.
will be here.
She'll be in this house.
Living in Concord.
But I've always wanted a company of actors that I keep going back to. I've always the kinds of directors I've loved, whether it's honestly Laura's worked with most of them, whether it's like Robert Altman or David Lynch or like these people who gather the actors they like and work with them again and again over years. That's what I hope to do. So I hope that there's lots of configurations where. The other thing that's exciting about it is then when you know each other, when they know you as a director and you know them as an actor, you can ask them to do things that no one else has done because you can see something new. And then you can also, then they know you can't fake it with them.
Yeah.
Like you have to raise to their level. I think it's, anyway, I'd love to make lots of movies with different configurations of these people I like. Timothée and Saoirse always, and now I have a new family.
You have a whole family. Well, kind of expanding on that, with some of my favorite scenes in the film also, like I think Mr. Chalamet, you do like that heartbreak in your face so well. I don't know how you do it, talent of course, but is it, how does it, how would you describe kind of having worked together before and how that either like enhances the ability to kind of stretch muscles and whatnot?
I think the trust is there, and not trust like you're gonna, not trust in a classic sense, but just you build a rhythm and experience with someone, and you go into it. I don't know. I never had that experience. I don't know if Saoirse or Greta have before, but I felt like I could just fluidly roll into it, and to the nature of the character too, to kind of be a wallflower who's getting his identity confirmed to him in a reciprocal way that feels fair too. And not to go off topic a little bit, but something Laura said earlier that was very wise, I thought, is she talked about this artistic empowerment in the movie, and we're in Louisa's house, all the gratitude, and this wouldn't exist without her. But I must say too, this is Greta's movie, and as much as it is about empowerment and female empowerment, if that was the only message I got across, great, but it is about the empowerment of like humans and art and artistry, truly, and that's where, I don't want to make a sales pitch, whatever, that's where this movie is worthy to the bottom of my heart, because I hope many boys see it, because look how Louis Garrel and Chris and Bob Odenkirk are shot, and Tracy Letts, Tracy Letts is incredible. Also Lady Bird holdover. Anyway, and James Norton. So I think that's an important thing to say, because it's not an absence of that, and it could be, and it's not.
I love the character. Thank you. That was amazing. I'm overwhelmed. I was thinking too, just about the way about. I mean, at the forefront of what Louisa wrote and that we wanted to bring out, and what you were talking about too, is this being an artist and where that inspiration comes from, and why you make art. And one of the things I so love about the character of Laurie is that he's the first literary character, and that you embody so beautifully, where girls are often imagining themselves into the space of boys, because most literature is about boys. So you have lots of practice imagining yourself as a pirate or as a king or as, whatever it is that the subject of the story is. And boys have less practice imagining themselves as women. But what was so wonderful about Laurie is he comes over and he beams himself into being part of these girls. He's the first literary character who imagines himself just as much a part of that as we always do with male characters. I don't know if that's too circuitous, but it's truly, and he has, when we do the scene and they're all running around and putting ice on each other and Laura's handing him scones and all this stuff, and he's just looking at them like, I truly think it's one of the first instances of a male character wanting to be part of that in a deep way. And and he did just such a beautiful job occupying that. But yeah, I mean, anyway, this is.
He also did that with us as well. I mean, it was incredible for you to just be a part of all this all the time. And
Yes.
he was so. You were so. I mean, I said it earlier. Like you were one of the sisters, you know, and it was so lovely to see that willingness to be that, and not to be like, sorry, but like, when does it come back to Laurie? Because you do find that I worked with but you didn't do that at all, and that acceptance that we all, I think, had to just be a part of this group and this family is what made it so unusual. You
If
know?
I can add one point to that, like, and this is total testament to Greta, is it's probably my favorite thing watching the movie, and I don't think it's on a gender line either, is the abandon of young people on screen in such a way that today, for whatever reason, self-awareness, blah, 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 it's harder now. Or I don't know, it's not. And so to see Saoirse and Florence and Eliza and Emma and playing a little bit younger than themselves, I don't know, whatever, but with that abandon, we don't see as much now. And life is, I don't want to say life is meant to be lived that way, because life is meant to be lived however it presents itself. But I'm watching the movie and I'm going, man, that's not how. Well, it's not true. I went to a bar mitzvah recently, and the kids were pretty nuts.
Oh.
And I was like, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And it is so nice, like you and Chris and the whole, like, when I got to edit, being able to cut to you and Chris and James, and just always this like sort of holding a space for this thing that comes into their lives. There's something about it that I realized, and Louisa wrote this way. She imagined something more egalitarian than what she was seeing in the world, and she had a feminism that wasn't one-gendered. It lifted everyone up because it allowed men to be more complex than a role of strength. It allowed them to be feminine in their masculinity. And I think what was so wonderful about having these great male actors with Timmy and Chris and James and Bob and Louis is that they came and they played and they held that space. And so every time I knew I was able to cut back to them, it gave like an idea of something that I think we're just now figuring out all together, how we can a feminism that includes everyone.
Yeah, it feels so real and aspirational at the same time, and like inspiring. I wanted to end on like one favorite Meryl moment.
Oh,
I don't know if there's one. There's like one favorite.
The Wendy's one doesn't count. It's
The Wendy
too easy.
is too easy.
yeah.
It doesn't count.
Well, I mean,
We've
it's
spoken
just so.
about it,
Yeah.
and
we
it's
have
so
talked about
cool.
that.
And yes, Meryl.
Meryl eats Wendy's. Okay.
Meryl ate
Meryl
chips,
Get over it.
and it was
Wendy's,
pretty
yeah.
awesome.
I think it might have been in the elevator to Q&A. For me, sorry,
Good.
everybody else go. But in the elevator 2 weeks ago after Q&A and seeing you guys, the exchange that you guys were having in the elevator, and I'll repeat it word for word now. No, it's not even. It wasn't even about. Like also the substance what they were saying, but just like the confirmation of but just to see these two, I don't know, to see Meryl kind of not put her arm around Greta, because at the end of the day you were directing her, of course, but
taller.
and you're taller.
Come down to me.
No, but take her in. It's very moving to do the Q&As with all of you guys, but to see Meryl next to Greta like that and kind of be like, there she is. Meryl's saying that about Greta. It's kind of inspiring. Yeah.
You could see on Meryl's face actually the pride in being able to, after all her years in the industry. I mean, I don't know how many female directors she's worked with, but to work with someone who's already so celebrated and so respected like you could see she was so proud to be a part of it, and that was really amazing too for someone who's like such a seasoned actor. She was like, I'm so relieved this has finally happened, and I get to do this with you,
So many things.
Her
So many
and
things.
Michael. She loved Michael.
She also had a million things, like, and I'm sure you felt this way because now you've worked with her and you guys have a friendship, but the little lies, Renata, Amabella.
Be rich.
No, but
Isn't that live?
But Meryl, I remember. I feel like when you work with Meryl, or the way I felt when I worked with Meryl, And I feel the same way about so many of the actors I've gotten to work with. But she also is like this repository of film knowledge, and she's been on so many great sets with so many great directors, and she's willing to tell you stories. We were blocking a scene, I think it was with Florence, but she said something to me about a cinematographer she worked with early, and she was very proud that she could act, but that she was also technical enough that she could turn to camera and open to camera so they could get her reaction. And she said that the DP came over to her and turned her around and said, "Give me your back. Let me wonder what you're thinking." And I was like, oh my God, that's so great. Give me your back. And, as a director who I've been working in films for a while, but this is only my second solo directorial thing. And I'm always figuring out how much can I do and what has more energy and when can I give someone's back and when can I, how long can I have a shot sustain? And she kind of just, when you're working with her, dribs and drabs of little gold mines just sort of spurt out of her and you're like, I got another one. And I run away and write it down. But she just is, oh my God, she said so many brilliant things. Here's another brilliant thing she said, because we were talking about older films and different, and there's always this thing of like, oh, there were great roles for actresses like Bette Davis or Carole Lombard or Rosalind Russell. And she said, well, because you can have those great roles if there's never any actual threat that she'll take his job. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. She's just smarter than most anybody.
Yeah.
Smarter. Yeah, right? Yeah. And it's Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to continue for the rest of the day, but I know you guys have other things to do. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in. Go see the movie December 25th, Christmas Day.
We'll spend your Christmas.
This is Meg, Amy, Beth, and Joe.
My girls have a way of getting into mischief.
Ow!
I know. Amy, you're the only sane member of your troublemaking family.
I want to be great or nothing.
Beth is the shy girl.
I wish just to have us all to be together.
Beth is perfect.
Joe, would you like to dance with me?
Joe is a lost cause.
I intend to make my own way in the world.
And Meg?
Thank you, Aunt March.
Oh, my.
I want a home and a family. Don't leave. You'll be bored of him in 2 years, and we will be interesting forever. Women have minds, and they have souls, as well as just hearts. You're not angry at me. Life is too short to be angry at one's sisters. Where'd you get the money? Well, I only sold what was my own. You're one beauty.
Like a boy.
Rated PG.